The plan was simple. I'd be out of town, stuck in a hotel, half listening to lectures at some dry-as-sandpaper regional training conference for work. Willa, my wife, even helped me pack, threw in extra socks, reminded me to bring deodorant, and kissed me goodbye like everything was fine, like nothing was rotting beneath the surface. And here's the thing. I was supposed to go. I had a ticket. My suitcase was in the trunk. I even made it halfway down the interstate before I realized I'd left my laptop charger. That stupid charger changed everything. I doubled back to the house. No texts. No heads up. I figured I'd just grab it and go. But as I pulled into our street, I noticed something weird. A white SUV parked out front, tinted windows, engine running. I didn't recognize it. The driver was on his phone, laughing. Didn't even look my way. Okay, whatever. I parked behind him and walked up to our front door. Unlocked. Our door is never unlocked. Willa's paranoid about it. She once made me drive 30 minutes back home because she thought she'd left it open. So yeah, my stomach was already tightening. Then I heard the music. Not loud, not wild, but definitely a party vibe. Something smooth playing in the background. Jazz, maybe. Something you play when you want to seem classy while doing something filthy. I stepped inside, expecting, I don't know, maybe she was hosting her book club? Maybe she forgot I was gone. Maybe it was innocent. But I saw the shoes first. Men's shoes. Not mine. Not even close. Then the laughter. Her laughter. And someone else's, deeper, smug. I followed the voices. Down the hall. To the backyard. To the string lights. The champagne. The people. And then it hit me. This wasn't some random get-together. This was a surprise party. My surprise party. There was a banner. It said, "Congrats, Franklin," in crooked gold letters. And there she was, Willa, in a tight red dress she told me she didn't even like. Laughing, holding a glass, sitting on the arm of a man I'd never seen before. His hand on her waist, her eyes on his lips. They hadn't seen me yet. Not until I coughed. Loud, sharp, like I was choking on the betrayal in the air. And then she saw me. Her smile didn't just vanish, it collapsed. Like someone pulled the plug on her entire body. The man froze too, like he just realized the oxygen had been sucked out of the night. Everyone else. Dead silence. No surprise. No cheers. Just 30 people standing there, stunned, waiting for me to say something. And I did. I looked at my wife. My beautiful, brilliant wife who told me to leave town so she could get some rest. And I said, calmly, "Did I ruin your night? Or just walk in too early?" Her wine glass hit the ground. And that was only the beginning. The second that glass shattered on the patio, everything froze like we were all in some bizarre photograph. My legs didn't want to move, but somehow I kept walking. Every step I took, people backed away like I was radioactive. And maybe I was. I mean, who shows up to their own surprise party and finds their wife practically curled up with some guy she doesn't even know that well? Willa tried to speak. Her mouth opened, then shut. She stood there trembling, still clutching her phone like it could protect her from what was about to happen. The guy she was with, tall, tan, and way too comfortable in my space, finally stood up. He had the nerve to say, "Hey, man, this isn't what it looks like." I actually laughed. Out loud. Because that sentence? That's always what people say when they know it's exactly what it looks like. And in this case, it was worse. I turned to Willa and asked, "So, who is he? Just another +1? Or the real guest of honor tonight?" She blinked fast like she was trying to cry on command, but nothing came out. Her friends, my friends, started to whisper behind their hands. I even heard someone gasp when I pulled out my phone and showed her the picture. Yeah, I took a picture. A clear one. The two of them laughing together before I interrupted. Her hand on his chest. His arm around her waist. She had no idea I'd snapped it the moment I stepped outside. She finally whispered, "It's not what you think." "Then help me understand it," I said, loud enough for the crowd to hear. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you told me to leave town so you could throw a party and rub yourself all over another guy while pretending it's some big surprise celebration for me." Her eyes flicked to the man. He looked like he wanted to sink into the grass. I wish he had. She grabbed my arm, but I stepped back. "Don't," I told her. "Just don't." That's when Tasha stormed over. Her face was red with embarrassment or anger or both. She whispered something into Willa's ear, and Willa immediately shook her head like a panicked child. But it was too late. People were already pulling out their phones. I saw someone in the corner pretending to take a selfie while clearly filming everything. The guy with Willa vanished into the crowd, like the coward he was, and I didn't even care to follow him. I just wanted answers. Tell them, I said, still staring at Willa. Tell everyone why you lied to your husband and told your friends you were throwing him a party. She finally broke. Her voice cracked. It wasn't supposed to go this way. Oh, I said. So what was the plan exactly? Invite everyone I know, let this guy play husband for the night, and just hope I'd never find out? Or were you planning to text me from the airport and tell me the party got canceled after it already happened? She covered her face with her hands. Someone handed her a napkin. The music stopped. The whole party was crumbling like a sandcastle in high tide. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get worse, Tasha turned to me and said, "She told us you were emotionally abusive, that you didn't care about her anymore, that you refused to celebrate anything, that you'd make a scene." The words hit like a punch to the ribs. I looked around, and yeah, I could see it now. Some of the side eyes weren't just surprise, they were judgment. Pity. Like I was the one who ruined everything. That was the moment it all clicked. Willa hadn't just lied to me. She'd built an entire version of me behind my back, told our friends stories that made her the victim, just so she could carry on whatever this was with that other man. And the worst part? People had believed her, even people I thought were on my side. So I did what I never thought I'd do. I picked up the champagne bottle she'd placed on the celebration table, popped it open, and poured myself a glass. The pop startled a few people. I raised the drink in a mock toast. To Willa, I said, looking right at her, for proving that even after 7 years, there are still ways to surprise me. And then I turned around, walked through the silence, and left her there. She didn't follow. But this story isn't over. Not by a long shot. I drove for maybe 15 minutes with no idea where I was going. My hands were shaking on the wheel, my brain felt like it was short-circuiting, and I kept replaying the same images. Willa in that red dress, her hand on that guy's chest, the moment she froze when she saw me standing there. I should have been angry. I should have been screaming. But all I felt was this deep, empty kind of ache, like someone scooped the center out of me and left everything else hollow. I finally pulled into a 24-hour diner. Not because I was hungry. I just needed a place that didn't smell like betrayal. I sat in the booth, ordered coffee I didn't want, and just stared at the wall while my phone lit up again and again. 17 missed calls from Willa. 2 voicemails. A couple texts. Please come back. I can explain. And my personal favorite. It was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. I screenshotted the messages. I didn't even know why. I just wanted proof, something real to hold on to while the ground under me kept shifting. Then came a message from someone unexpected. Jeremy, my coworker. Hey man, I didn't want to get involved, but you need to know something. Call me. Now Jeremy's not the type to stir the pot. He's quiet, keeps to himself. But I called him anyway. The second he picked up, I could tell something was weighing on him. Frankie, he said, I didn't know how to tell you this before, and maybe I should have months ago, but I've seen your wife. I froze. What do you mean, seen her? He hesitated. There's this guy, Mark. Works in IT. Big guy. Beard. Always making inappropriate jokes. He's been showing pictures around. Of him and Willa. At events. In his car. In hotels. I could barely get the words out. Pictures? Like what kind of pictures? Too friendly, Jeremy said. More than friendly. And I overheard him bragging that she was the married one who liked to sneak around. I didn't want to believe it was your wife, but after tonight, yeah, it's her. I'm sorry, man. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there in silence. So it wasn't just one night. It wasn't just one guy. Willa had layers to this. Lies on top of lies. Public betrayal wrapped in private humiliation. And worst of all, she'd weaponized my silence. My calm. My boring personality. Made me the villain in her little soap opera so she could play the heartbroken heroine who found love in the arms of someone who understood her. I stared down at my phone and did something I never thought I'd do. I opened our shared cloud account. Willa's always been careless with passwords. She thought I never paid attention. She was wrong. Inside her synced albums were screenshots, chats with the guy from the party, chats with someone named B, and another folder titled Plan B. I opened it, and my heart just about gave out. Photos of apartments, furniture, budget spreadsheets. One of them literally said, if Frankie finds out early, stall with emotion, keep the ring on until the lease is signed. She was planning to leave me. She was already moving on. And this party? This wasn't a celebration of me. It was a test run for her new life. With me out of town, she could rehearse what it would feel like to be his girlfriend in public. She probably never expected me to see any of it. And now that I knew, I smiled. And not the broken, devastated smile I'd worn an hour earlier. This was different. This was the kind of smile that comes right before the curtain drops and the real act begins. Because Willa made one mistake. A big one. She thought I was too weak to fight back. She forgot. The quiet ones always watch the longest. And I'd been watching. I was done being the fool. But I wasn't done playing the game. Not yet. When I woke up, the sun was already bleeding through the blinds of the dingy motel I ended up crashing in. I hadn't even bothered to take off my shoes. My mouth was dry, my back ached from the stiff mattress, and my phone was buzzing again. 10 missed calls, for voicemails, and 3 dozen messages from Willa. All of them variations of the same theme. Let's talk. Please answer. You don't understand. And my personal favorite. Don't do anything stupid. Too late. I wasn't planning on anything violent or destructive. Not my style. But I decided, somewhere between midnight and sunrise, that Willa was going to feel what it was like to be left in the dark. I wasn't going to scream, or cry, or throw her clothes on the lawn like some reality show meltdown. No. I was going to take the one thing she never expected me to use. My silence. I checked our shared banking app and smiled. She hadn't touched a thing. Good. She thought I'd come back and sit across the table like some confused puppy, desperate for scraps of an explanation. Instead, I made my move. First, I transferred half the balance of our main joint account into a new checking account in my name only. Then I called a locksmith. Our front door would have a new lock by noon. I even scheduled a storage unit rental. I was done living under a roof where the truth rotted beneath the drywall. But here's where it got delicious. I knew she'd show up to the house. I just didn't think it would be that fast. At 11:26 a.m., while I was standing in the driveway talking to the locksmith, Willa's car screeched around the corner and pulled up like she was trying to save someone from a fire. She jumped out, sunglasses on, hair in a bun, face pale. "Franklin, what are you doing?" she half shouted, looking at the guy changing the locks. I turned to her and said flatly, "Protecting my space. You know, just in case someone tries to turn it into a party venue again." She blinked. "Okay, I get that you're upset." "No," I interrupted, "you don't get it. You don't get to tell me how upset I'm allowed to be after you threw a fake celebration for me and climbed into someone else's arms before the cake was even cut." The locksmith looked like he wanted to disappear into the ground. I didn't care. Willa looked over at him, then back at me. "Can we please talk in private?" "Private?" I scoffed. "Like how you kept your little side relationships." "Sorry, I'm out of private for now." She stepped closer, lowered her voice. "Franklin, this isn't just about us. People saw. My parents called me. My boss heard rumors." "Oh no," I said, with the fakest sympathy I could summon. "Is your reputation crumbling? That must feel awful." Her face twisted. "You're acting like a child." "No, Willa," I said. "I've been acting like a child. Ignoring the signs. Believing the lies. Giving you the benefit of the doubt while you made me out to be some controlling monster to your friends." She hesitated. "I never said." "You did," I cut in. "You just didn't think I'd find out. And you definitely didn't think I'd grow a spine before you finished setting up your backup apartment." That one landed. Her jaw dropped slightly. "How do you know about that?" "I know everything," I said. "You synced your cloud. I guess Betrayal doesn't look good in 4K, but I saw it anyway." She looked like she wanted to argue, but couldn't. So instead she went quiet. Her arms folded. That defensive posture I knew too well. And then, softly, "I didn't mean for it to go that far." "No one ever does," I said. "But you made choices. Lots of them. I was just one of them. And now I'm making mine." The locksmith finished and handed me the new keys. I looked at Willa. "You can have the house," I said. "I'll be out by the end of the week." She blinked. "What?" "You heard me. I'm not fighting over walls. I'm fighting for my dignity." I walked past her, dropped her key on the step, and didn't look back. Not even when she called after me, voice cracking. "Franklin, please, don't do this." I was already done. But what she didn't know, I wasn't walking away. Not yet. I was walking into something much colder, and she'd feel it soon. By the time I left the house for good, I had packed everything that mattered into 3 cardboard boxes and 1 bitter memory. I didn't take the TV. I didn't take the couch. I didn't even take the framed wedding photo. She could keep that. Let her stare at it and try to figure out when exactly she started lying to the guy in the picture. I just took the essentials, my documents, my laptop, a few clothes, and my spine, which had apparently been missing for the past year. But I wasn't 2 blocks away from the driveway before I saw what she was doing. The social media rollout. First came the carefully filtered Instagram story. A shot of the wedding ring, placed gently on a marble counter, accompanied by some vague caption like, "Sometimes growth means letting go." Then came the black and white selfie, tears, real or fake, who knows, followed by her comment, "Healing. Please respect my privacy." She wasn't heartbroken. She was branding her heartbreak. Within an hour, 3 mutual friends messaged me saying, "Hey, I know things are complicated, but I saw Willa's post. Are you okay?" Like I was the aggressor. Like I had betrayed her. One even said, "I had no idea she was hurting that much." Hurting? She wasn't hurting the night she was wrapped around another man during my surprise party. But apparently, if you cry in grayscale and tag a quote about inner peace, people forget you're a liar. And yet, I said nothing. I didn't post a rebuttal. I didn't call anyone. I didn't explain. Because silence is the loudest scream when it comes from someone who always begged to be heard. Willa, of course, couldn't handle it. Not for long. She went from cold and calculated to absolutely unhinged over the next 48 hours. First, she texted. Then she left voicemails. Then she emailed me. And then she went nuclear. I was sitting in a quiet cafe, sipping burned coffee and pretending to read job listings, when I saw her name light up my phone, again. Except this time, the message wasn't "Can we talk?" or "I miss you." This time it said, "Don't make me go to HR." I froze. HR? I wasn't even working at the same company as her. What could she possibly mean? Another message came. "You may want to think twice about some of the things you've said. I have screenshots too." Oh, there it was. She wasn't just trying to flip the narrative online. She was trying to flip it legally. Turn herself from cheater into victim. She wanted leverage. A distraction. She wanted to be able to say, "Sure, I did this, but he did that." Even if that was just me standing in silence while she burned the marriage to ash. But I wasn't stupid. I had my own screenshots. I had the cloud backup. I had a lawyer now. One who reviewed everything and told me plainly, "She's panicking and bluffing. Keep every message. Don't respond." So I didn't. Not when she showed up at my work pretending she just happened to be in the area. Not when she left a note on my windshield that said, "I don't recognize who you've become." Not even when her mother called me and said, "She's been crying for days. Can't you just come talk to her?" Because here's what they all missed, what she missed most of all. I didn't become someone new. I just stopped pretending that being quiet meant being weak. Willow was used to me being passive, soft, easy to manipulate. But this version of me, the one she was now begging to talk to, this was the man she built, out of betrayal, humiliation, and cold champagne over a fake party banner. And I hadn't even started yet. I was sitting in the laundromat, of all places, when everything changed. It was one of those quiet afternoons where the world feels paused. You know the type, faint buzz of dryers, overhead lights flickering slightly, some old song playing on a tinny speaker about love and regret. Fitting. I was folding my shirts like a zombie when my phone lit up again. It was Willa. Another message. But this one wasn't like the others. "No, please call me. No, we can fix this." Not even the usual guilt bait like, "You're hurting both of us." No, this one just said, "I need to see you. Urgent. Please. I messed up." And for some dumb reason, I stared at that sentence for 10 full minutes. Then I typed one word. Where? Because sometimes, to bury something, you have to drag it into the light first. She told me to meet her at a diner halfway between my new apartment and our old neighborhood. I got there early, sat in the corner booth, and ordered a coffee that tasted like regret. She arrived 10 minutes late, in dark sunglasses and a hoodie, like she thought the paparazzi were outside. Her hand trembled as she pulled the hood back. She looked like she hadn't slept. Good. She sat down across from me without saying a word. The waitress came over, and Willa waved her off. I didn't speak. I wanted her to fill the silence she had once so confidently drowned me in. Finally, she said, "I didn't know about the footage." I raised an eyebrow. What footage? Her hands clenched. The restaurant. The security cameras. The party. And just like that, I knew what she meant. See, the Blue Lantern, the upscale lounge she hosted my surprise party in, is one of those fancy places that brags about their full security coverage for safety and liability reasons. I'd forgotten. But apparently, Willa hadn't. At least not until someone reminded her. I thought it was a private area, she whispered. I thought it wouldn't be recorded. I took a slow sip of my coffee. But it was. She looked like she wanted to vanish into the leather booth. I let the moment stretch. Then I leaned forward and said, Willa, are you trying to tell me you did something worse than what I already saw with my own eyes? She blinked hard. I didn't sleep with him that night. I tilted my head. So it was just emotional betrayal, public humiliation, and a pile of lies. Comforting. She rubbed her forehead like she had a migraine. That footage, someone got a copy. Someone sent it to HR at my job. There it was. Her panic wasn't about me anymore. It wasn't about guilt or shame or regret. It was about damage control. She was unraveling because the thing she thought she controlled, her image, her version of events, the narrative she fed everyone, was slipping out of her hands. And the worst part? She didn't even know who sent the footage. But I did. Because the night I left the party, after I'd poured the champagne and walked out, I noticed one of the bartenders watching everything unfold. He looked familiar. Turns out, his older brother is married to my cousin. Small world. Even smaller when people have cameras everywhere. He'd sent me the footage the next morning, along with a quiet, in case you need it. I hadn't used it. Not yet. I hadn't needed to. But now, Willa was already drowning in consequences. Her job was asking questions. Her friend from the party had ghosted her. People were realizing her public heartbreak didn't match the private footage being passed around. So I looked her dead in the eye and said, You built your story on lies. Now you're being crushed by the truth. That's not on me. She stared at me, desperate. Can't we fix this? Together? I almost laughed. You can't fix a house after it's burned to the ground. You can only sweep up the ashes. I stood up, dropped a few bills on the table, and added, And I'm not sweeping for you anymore. As I walked out, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt free. But this story wasn't over yet. Because I hadn't played the footage. Not publicly. Not legally. Not yet. I don't know what part of me expected her to disappear quietly after that diner meeting. Maybe the part that still wanted to believe she was at least capable of shame. But Willa didn't vanish. She did what people like her always do when their story starts to fall apart. They try to rewrite the ending in real time, no matter how sloppy or obvious it looks. Within 3 days, she hosted a dinner. Yes, a dinner. At her house. The same house I used to come home to every evening with 2-day-old flowers and the naive belief that my wife loved me. Now it was the venue for some twisted version of damage control. She invited mutual friends, a couple of coworkers, and even her mother. And the theme? Reconciliation. Like she was a politician who misspoke, and not a wife who planned a fake surprise party so she could test drive another man in front of my inner circle. I wasn't invited, obviously, but someone else was. Tasha. And Tasha doesn't play sides. She called me the next morning, furious. Frankie, she said, I can't believe this woman. She sat us all down, served wine like everything was fine, and then told this sob story about how you emotionally checked out years ago, and that the party incident was just a harmless flirtation taken out of context. I laughed. Did she forget there's video? She knows there's video, Tasha snapped. She just doesn't think it'll surface. And get this. She told everyone you were threatening her with it. Like you're the manipulator now. And that was when I made my decision. I'd kept quiet for long enough. Not out of fear. Not even out of mercy. But because I didn't want to become the kind of person who lives to destroy someone else. But Willa wasn't letting this go. She wanted a war. So I gave her one, but I did it in a way she never saw coming. I sent the video to one person. Just one. Her boss. Not out of pettiness, but because she was using her job to anchor this fake narrative of victimhood. She'd told them I was the problem. She'd told HR I was harassing her, threatening her with fabricated stories. And meanwhile, there was a 5-minute clip of her laughing, dancing, touching another man like I didn't exist, while guests whispered in confusion and tried not to look at me standing in the doorway, heart split open. I didn't attach a caption, didn't even send a message. Just the footage. Raw, unedited. Truth in its purest form. The fallout started less than 24 hours later. I didn't hear it from Willa. I heard it from a mutual friend who worked in the same building. Apparently, the company launched a quiet internal investigation, not just because of the video, but because someone else had already reported Willa for inappropriate conduct before I even sent it. The video just lit the match. And Willa? She spiraled. She texted me at 2:14 a.m. That long, desperate kind of message you only send when you know everything's slipping away and you're trying to grab hold of someone you've already pushed off the cliff. Franklin, please. I know I messed up, but this isn't you. You're not cruel. I don't deserve this. No, she didn't. But I wasn't doing this to punish her. I was doing this because she kept trying to turn her mess into my fault. Because she wouldn't stop until she was the victim in every room. And if that meant I had to be the villain in her story, fine. I'd rather be the villain who told the truth than the fool who lived in her fiction. But the final chapter hadn't landed yet. She still had one secret. One she'd buried deep. And by pure accident, I was about to uncover it. A week after Willa's illusion came crashing down, I got a message that stopped me cold. Not from her, but from an old name I hadn't seen in years. Elena. We went to college together. Nothing romantic back then, just the kind of friendship that gets you through late-night exams and breakups and every awkward Thanksgiving phone call with your parents. We lost touch when I got married. Willa always said Elena gave her bad vibes, which, in hindsight, probably meant she saw someone who could actually see through her. The message was simple. I saw what happened. I'm sorry. You deserve better. I stared at that message for a while, trying to remember the last time someone said I deserved anything. And then, without thinking, I replied. We started talking, just casual at first, catching up, laughing. She remembered things about me I'd forgotten. She asked how I was, not out of politeness, but because she actually wanted to know. Meanwhile, Willa's life kept unraveling. Her HR case didn't end in a firing, but it did end in a demotion and mandatory leave. Most of her supportive friends had stopped answering her calls. Even her mother, who once believed Willa could do no wrong, told me during a tense call, I didn't raise her to lie like this. It felt surreal to hear. Willa tried one more time to meet in person. She said she wanted closure. I agreed, not for her, but for me. I needed to see it through. We met at the park, where the fall leaves were starting to drift off the trees like slow, beautiful farewells. She came alone. No sunglasses, no performance. Just Willa, tired, pale, small. She didn't try to spin a story this time. Didn't cry. She just said, you didn't deserve any of it. I was selfish. I thought I could juggle everything and still keep you. I nodded quietly. She added, do you hate me? I thought about it. Really thought. And I said, no, I just don't love you anymore. It was the truth, and it felt lighter than I expected. That was the last time I saw her. A few months passed. I moved into a new place, small, clean, peaceful. I started rebuilding. I took up old hobbies. I saw my friends again, not the fake ones from her crowd, but real ones who remembered who I was before I bent myself into someone I didn't recognize just to keep her happy. And Elena? She became more than just a voice from the past. We grabbed dinner one night, then another, then a walk, then a weekend trip that turned into the most laughter-filled 3 days I'd had in years. She knew everything. I didn't hide a thing, and she didn't flinch. She just said, you were never the villain, Frankie. You were just too loyal to someone who stopped being loyal to you. For once, I believed it. I look back now, and I don't see a tragedy. I see a lesson. I see a door that slammed shut so that another one could open. And this time, I'm walking through it with my eyes wide open.